All right, I just wanted to jump on here real quick and talk about a topic. I posted the other day about deer not having PhDs. Something that I've believed in forever. Something that I tell guys all the time when they start getting into, oh, this deer does this because it's they're not that smart. They cannot critically think. They cannot reason. They are survival experts, and they will do what they have to do to survive, but they're also really stupid. They do really dumb stuff. They run in front of cars. They lay up against people's houses. They hang out too close to the road where poachers can get shots at them. So they do really dumb stuff all the time. So when I say that deer don't have PhDs and that they're easier to kill than people give credit for, I believe it. I've done it. I've put it into practice. I get on pieces of properties. I've made a video about making those properties more enticing. So when I approach hunting, I control the things that I can control. If I can go in there and make the property more enticing, I do. My entry, my exit, I can control that. I've given up pieces of hunting properties before because I just couldn't get to them the way that I wanted to hunt them. And therefore, it wasn't going to produce what I wanted it to produce for me. And then the direction that your scent blows, you can control. So, you take those factors that you can control, you find a piece of property that the deer that you want to hunt actually uses, and you're going to have a very good opportunity at harvesting that deer. But it takes patience, it takes persistence, it takes, having to stick to a game plan and not just always taking risks and always, just going and hunting it just because you got a chance to hunt. If you're after a certain deer and that's the only deer you want, then you may have to wait until that deer is huntable on that property. And I've done that many times where I just stay out of a property. October 1st, our hunting season opens, and I don't go in. In fact, my largest buck that I've ever taken, I was getting his picture a lot at night. He had not done anything even close to daylight. So I stayed out of there. And October 25th was the first time I hunted that property for him. And I did not see him that sit, but I was able to get in and out clean. 2 days later, I was back in there, and I saw him at, it was about 9 o'clock that morning. I had snort wheezed, and he had come out of this known thicket, bedding area, and he had got my wind that morning. And here's the PhD part. He got my wind and he slipped out of there. And had I have bought into the fact that, oh my gosh, he busted me, his critical way of thinking now, he's never coming back near this stand, I probably wouldn't have killed this deer. I would have stayed out of there and gave the property a rest. And instead, I hunted a different part the next morning, didn't see him, and decided to get back in the same stand that he busted me in the morning before, the next afternoon, and I was able to shoot him at 250 that afternoon. He come in following a doe, and, I've seen guys in the past. I know of a story in particular that pops in my head of guys, they had shot a deer on a property. They had to bring in a dog. They tracked the living crap out of the land and some of the surrounding area. And they decided that they were going to give that place a rest. Stay out of there. They've screwed it up. They blew it out. And the next day, after they were in there with the dog, the tracker, and a couple guys, their target buck, a very big buck for our area, was all over the camera that day. Daylight, all day long, in and out of that property, looking for does. They had probably bumped that deer the day before in tracking. But that was it. He was right back in there, and they thought they had messed it up, that, you know, gave the deer too much credit. They're never coming back in here, and the very next day. So a lot of times we get stuck, you know, thinking that these deer have a memory that just, you're never going to kill them if you screw up. It's not true. I've busted deer before and have been able to kill them, you know, days later, a week later. When you bump a deer, people think that they leave the county. Where are they going? They know they're home. You bumped them, they didn't like it, but that's it. You know, you will get another chance. You have to stay persistent, but you have to control the things you can control. And that's it. If you do that smartly, and you're getting in and out clean, and you're not letting your scent blow to where you think they're going to come from, you're going to be in the game at some point throughout the season. So, you know, don't give them too much credit. Give yourself credit. Hunt smart. Make good decisions. You know, don't just go sit out there because you have an afternoon to hunt. It's a nice day to hunt, but your wind is blowing in a terrible direction. You know, don't take risks like that. You know, you can't go walking through there. Like, if you were to go to an area that you consider a bedding area and just walk through it every day, well, yeah, you're not going to see deer, because you blow them out of there, then they don't feel comfortable there, and then that's not a bedding area for them. And I keep doing quotation marks because that's another thing. Like, you know, guys are like, oh, I know exactly where that deer was bedded. No, you don't. Unless you got him GPS collared, you really don't. You might think you know an area that he's could be in, but you never know what these deer do. I've seen it way too many times, and they just do really dumb stuff all the time. So stop giving them so much credit. Hunt smart. Give yourself credit, and give yourself the advantages by just making the good decisions on the stuff that you can control, and your opportunities and your chances will go up. So, you know, keep that in mind this fall. These deer didn't go to Harvard, and, you know, neither did we. Some of you might have, but I didn't. But I just approach hunting in a very smart manner. And you just control your wind, your scent, your entry and access. And those three things alone will give you better odds come this fall. So good luck.